There's a particular kind of exhaustion that comes from constantly feeling like you have to earn your worth. Always improving, always pushing, always trying to become perfect in order to finally relax. I started this hike before sunrise with a goal that had to change. But only a few minutes into the hike, I noticed something off to the side of the trail. A pair of eyes quietly looking back at me from the dark. A bobcat. And I remember thinking afterward, for a long time, my tendency on hikes was to start fast, to focus on pacing and distance and the goal ahead. But lately, I've been trying something different, slowing down enough to actually look around and immerse myself in the experience. And honestly, if I'd been moving the way I used to, I probably would have never noticed that bobcat at all. But slowing down changed what I was able to see. And I think a lot of us move through life that way too. So focused on what's next, we barely notice what's happening inside us while we're getting there. The next goal, the next improvement, the next version of ourselves we think will finally feel like enough. And even early on in this hike, something in me already knew I needed a different approach. Nothing dramatic, I wasn't injured, just aware that my body was still carrying fatigue from previous hikes. Aware that I'd intentionally lightened my pack before this one. Aware that I needed a slower pace than the one I usually expect from myself. But as the sun came up, the trail opened into incredible ridgelines. Wide skies, quiet air, layer after layer of mountains unfolding in every direction. And the slower I moved, the more I actually experienced where I was. The wind, the silence, the changing light, birds moving across the open sky, the feeling of my feet carefully meeting the trail. And somewhere in there, I started realizing something important. My body wasn't asking for more effort. It was asking for me to listen. There was a point where I decided to skip Mount Hawkins itself, and surprisingly, it didn't feel disappointing, because by then, I already spent hours walking these ridgelines, already taking in views that felt expansive and grounded and deeply nourishing. And I remember descending toward South Hawkins afterward and suddenly realizing I don't actually need another summit for the same view. I was already full, already grateful, already satisfied. The fire road had been heavily washed out. Parts of the trail were unstable, collapsed, covered in loose rock and snow. At several sections, I had to carefully climb down and back up using all fours. And one icy crossing especially forced me to slow down completely. Careful footing, focused attention, and no rushing. Sometimes healing begins the moment we stop abandoning ourselves in order to keep climbing. Sometimes maturity is learning how to listen before your body has to scream. And sometimes the most compassionate thing we can do is stop turning life into one long attempt to prove we were worthy all along. Take good care.